Well, I'd say like on paper, the NRG roster is pretty good, but for some reason they're just like not clicking.
I think CLG right now is a pretty even opponent to us. I think it'll be a 50-50 matchup.
No matter what, mid 1v1, I'm confident.
The meta is slowly changing. Darshan is pretty happy to play like carry top finally. We're like really confident on his carry top.
Darshan literally just 1v1s to win the game.
Oh my goodness, classic Darshan.
I think it'll be a really good test for us. I think it'll be a pretty good series.
All the way to the top I climb, and I'm never gonna quit till I get what's mine.
Good afternoon, fans. It's a beautiful day in Los Angeles, and everybody has packed the LCS studio for a day of exciting matches. As you can see here, a little bit of North American pride, some USA 4th of July cosplay. Teams are in their last round of first looks, looking to grab one more victory before circling back for the second half of the summer split. Here you see CLG. They'll be starting off in the battle arena. They arrived a little early, got some practice in before their match. You see S6 NA and Aframu, that bot lane there. Of course, going to be going up against NRG today. Phoenix 1, though, has quite a game on their hands as they'll be going up against TSM. There you see Coach Charlie and the rest of the squad. Weldon with Biofrost, that newcomer who has been performing all split long, helping him with maybe that mental game, that pre-game ritual, making sure that he walks in confident as ever. And then, of course, here's Quas and the rest of NRG setting up on stage for that matchup against our defending champions in CLG. That will be a competitive one to say the least. Hello everyone, I'm James Patterson, and returning to the analyst desk as always is Mark Zimmerman. Welcome back. How you doing?
You guys getting sick of me yet?
Not quite, not quite.
Not quite.
Yeah, happy 4th of July weekend.
Thanks.
To celebrate, I got you this giant donut.
Dude, that looks pretty good.
Right?
I had some eggs this morning. Didn't really have any
you needed
carb with it.
Okay, that's what you
big
need.
donut.
Something to absorb.
Yeah.
All the coffee that you had
grease.
that you had this morning, just keep yourself away. Well, last night, 4 teams officially wrapped the first half of the split with Liquid and Team Envy walking away with victories. Now, this is the 3rd week in a row that Liquid has started Fabi, and the record continues to improve with their win over Cloud9 last night.
Right, it's kind of changed where when you see it on paper, you don't go like, wow, this is going to be great for Team Liquid, but it's definitely one of those more internal changes where something in the team dynamic just needs to change. Having a really smooth, even-keeled, kind of relaxed player in Fabi can help kind of mellow out the team when you might have a lot of personalities with Dardoch, Piglet, and Loco in a sense. When you pull somebody out of there, it can just really even the team out. And I think that's what you're seeing, where they're just performing better. I think the biggest indication of that was through the pause, through the Baron seal.
Yeah.
Like the team is okay with that.
They're still fine.
Yeah, and I think that was the kind of thing that a lot of us were looking for, to see this kind of growth in their attitudes. So
as you can see here, Liquid pre-Fabi was 1 win, 3 losses. Now that was a couple iterations, one where they had Moon, as well as Piglet, then Dardoch and Piglet before swapping out Piglet for Fabi. With Fabi, 4 wins, 1 loss, so a significantly better record. Of course, we can look at strength of schedule and point at some of that kind of stuff to temper expectations here, but either way, the team is obviously performing much better with Fabi. Something's working. Another kind of fun thing to note is that 4 of 5 members of the team are actually formerly of Team Liquid Academy, so it is a very cool instance of seeing our challenger players, our more amateur guys, being able to step up and prove themselves on the LCS stage.
yeah, I mean, what's always interesting too is that the biggest mismatch people always consider between TLA and TL when they were scrimming all those internals back in the day was between Phoenix and Youngbin.
Yeah.
And Phoenix is kind of the lone survivor in a sense. So
Right.
It's fitting.
Yeah, the rest of the guys stepping up to the plate. I do want to highlight one player, though, in particular. We heard Matt credit Dardoch yesterday in his interview with how he helped the team from a mentality standpoint really get through that remade game and push forward and not let it affect their mental state, having lost the first game of the series.
I think that's a big point too, is talking about how they were down a game, winning a game, and then it got remade.
Right.
It wasn't like first game of the series, or you're up 1-0. Being down the game, it feels extra bad, but to have that kind of mentality to be like, don't worry, we're just going to run this back again on them.
Did it once, we can do it again.
Yeah, just the fact that they stomped 2 early games in a row basically was really impressive.
Right, and Dardoch himself has always been a vocal player individually, and here he was vocal about the fact that he was going to take it to Meteos, and he did just that. Right here we see Loco Doko and the rest of the team in their pre-game huddle as usual, and this was him yesterday walking onto stage in between games far earlier than anyone else. You can kind of see the energy that he has, the fact that he is walking in confident, trying to pump up his teammates, making sure they have smiles on their faces. And, you know, it's just a really cool thing to see such a young player developing into a leader. And, you know, it's even more important when it is a roster that has gone through so many iterations in just, you know, the past 6 months.
Right. I mean, it's a young roster too, so it's going to need to be one of the young guys stepping up. And Dardoch is an extremely emotional player. We've always said that. When it manifests itself negatively, it can be very negative, but when it's positive, it's extremely positive. And yesterday was a day where he kept a good mindset, and you can see the impact that it has on a team when you have this young, you know, kind of playmaker being excited throughout the whole series, even though it's a long one, and being able to pump his teams up, you know, even on, you know, game 4 in a sense, you know, being able to keep that energy up there is really important.
And now it's, now it's just about staying in that positive mind space for the rest of the split. We'll see if they can do that. Now, yesterday we also saw Echo Fox pick up game 1 win against Team Envy. Unfortunately, they can't close it out yet again. So similar to their TSM series, they are able to pick up a victory, but they still can't take an entire series.
It's tough because they're a very grindy team, and they're going up against another pretty grindy team in Envy. And when I always feel that, like, when two of similar styles meet, it's usually the one that's better. You don't see as many upsets.
Right.
Whereas you can say, you know, C9 and TL play pretty different, and an upset can happen. Here, it's two people playing the same style, and while Echo Fox grabs game 1, it doesn't translate to the rest of the series, because as the games get longer and grindier, you see in game 3 that, you know, eventually Envy just takes it, and I feel like that's how it went.
Yeah, and I think so with Fox, kind of the key thing, we've hit this before, is their inaction, their inability to be proactive and to make plays. On the flip side, Envy, now their story in the LCS has been a very interesting one. They had such a hot start, then they got kind of beat up by our top 4 teams over the past 2 weeks, but they still sit in a decent position, you know, at their 6-2 currently. So it's very tough to look at this team, or rather 6-3, and it's very tough to look at this team and make a solid assessment as to where their power level actually stands.
Right. I think it's kind of like the reverse TL, where TL starts with some roster problems, and they go through an easier stretch, whereas Envy came in with a solid roster, won a lot, and then they went through a rough stretch.
Right.
And so that's why I think this matchup's going to be really interesting today, is because you're just going to see, is Team Liquid on the rise, is Envy dropping, or was it just kind of how their two, you know, schedules worked out, and Envy really is the better team?
Yeah, as you just mentioned, later today, Liquid and Team Envy will face off in our first rematch of the split. And these two teams, well, they're quite different than when they met in week 1, because again, we have to remember, all right, Team Liquid now has 2 new players. They don't have Moon, they don't have Piglet. They're going to be playing Envy with Fabi and Dardoch. That means a much more aggressive jungler, as well as, and then a shift in styles in terms of the types of champions that they're playing in the AD carry role. So Envy's going to have to make a ton of adjustments just in this rematch.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about playing against Piglet, you have to think like, okay, we got to keep our bot lane afloat. Maybe we 2v1 to avoid this lane pressure, this kinds of stuff. It's totally different when you play against Fabi, because he's going to be on the Ashe, the Sivir, playing a utility thing, and it's a lot more, where's Dardoch going to go? Is he going to snowball Phoenix, Lorlo, or
he's going to go with
Lane?
Lorlo, yeah. Now we've seen Lorlo with like Rek'Sai Shen. They love that combo, and Lorlo's been very good on that Shen. So I don't think Envy's job is going to be easy today, given the shakeups that Liquid will throw at them. Now, last night we discussed our biggest surprises and biggest disappointments of the summer split. Freak and I wanted to extend the same question to you. Positive surprise, a bit of a disappointment. What are you looking at
for me, the positive surprise is definitely Envy. We kind of touched on them a little bit already in this segment, but I think even you heard them say last night that they were expecting to come in as like maybe a 6th place team, happy to make the playoffs, and they're seated number 4 right now, which is really impressive. And I think it was definitely a surprise. They looked good. It didn't seem like, when you saw the best of ones, a team could get out to an early lead.
You could fluke your way.
A little bit fluke your way to like middle of the standings. But these guys have won best of 3s against a number of teams in this league, so you know that they deserve to be where they are right now. It's just a question of, as the rest of the league improves, are they going to improve with them, or have they kind of tapered off? So they're definitely a bright spot so far in the season for me.
All right, disappointment?
I have energy. It's not that, not like we went into this like, wow, they're going to be a top 5 team and they're disappointing in that regard, but just the whole storyline with the team. Like, you want Quas's redemption, you want GBM and OQ to prove that, like, they were the right people to use import slots on and invest in and all this stuff, and it's just fallen so flat for me. It's just, not worked out on so many different levels. It's just a disappointment.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's an unfortunate case of expectation versus reality, which is that our last, remembering of Quas is when he was at his peak performance and very dominant in the top lane. So you kind of have an expectation that he'll come in and step up to that level soon.
Right.
If not immediately, soon.
Right.
GBM, we have a similar expectation. This guy is very good at League of Legends. He should stomp lanes. He should help carry games. OQ, same thing. There's been so much hype around this guy since he came over from Korea and through the challenger scene. This guy is going to prove himself, and he's a top tier 80 carry. We're still waiting to see that, and it hasn't come to fruition quite yet.
Yeah, I think it's just almost style too. Like I think GVM's really good, but just like I don't think he can be the primary carry of a team. He needs to be in a team with someone else as the primary focus, or like a very solid team where everyone's contributing. And with them being so disjointed, he can't shine at his like team fighting prowess because they're usually not in a great spot.
And I think it's very clear that they're still figuring that out, as we do see them sometimes disjointed around the map. Now, before today's matches begin, I want to take a look at the current standings, just so we have a little refresher there. TSM is at the top of the table with their still undefeated record. Immortals hold second place, while Cloud9 and Envy are now tied for third. Liquid has moved into fifth place, followed by Apex to round out our top 6 teams, and CLG is just ahead of the rest of those bottom 3 teams. Now let's take a look at what's in store for us this weekend. Today on NA LCS 1, the Battle Arena plays host to NRG versus Counterlogic Gaming in the first series, followed by Immortals versus Apex. Phoenix 1 faces off against TSM on NA LCS 2, with Liquid and Envy battling in the late series. Now tomorrow, be sure to come back and check out our match of the week, where the Battle Theater will showcase Immortals versus Cloud9 in a matchup that will help settle the top of the standings. Now, I think that this matchup has become increasingly interesting given Cloud9's improvement from their first time they played. Immortals got the better of them the first time around in a 2-1. In what a lot of people said was still a winnable series for Cloud9.
Sure.
Cloud9 looks better now, improved, so this should just be a better matchup.
You would think so.
You would think.
I would think so as well, but one thing to point out for Immortal side is Pobelter is like taking over a number of games now and really kind of just giving the win, whereas normally it would be like Huni Rainover making some early moves and there's some explosive TP play or something like that, and Immortals kind of jump to a lead. I think a lot more of it's now is Pobelter's roaming. We saw him last week have some monster Azir plays and things like that, just in the side lanes, getting out and looking to make plays. So.
But that's why I think that's one of the reasons why I think this matchup is more exciting. Because typically you look at Jensen, Bjergsen, and you go, okay, those two are the best mid laners in North America.
Not much going to happen.
Yeah, Pobelter, though, he's making his case for like, no. This is a conversation of 3 mid laners, not just 2. So I'm going to be included in that conversation.
For sure.
His matchup against Jensen in the mid lane is one of the ways that he gets to prove that he really does deserve all the hype that he's received in this split in particular. Well, as you're watching all the action today, make sure to let us know whenever you see an incredible moment. We need rather your help to highlight today's best moments, like this call out by I'm Not Perry from last night's series. Meteos, I worship your steals. Let's check it out.
Meteos is in the area. He's gonna try for a steal, but I don't think he'll make it in time.
Got flash and smite, and Phoenix wants to assassinate him.
Death ray damage, not quite enough. Meteos hero, no Lola goes, he stole it!
I do hawk shot.
Oh
my gosh! Nice.
Feels good, man.
He had 200 health himself.
Yeah. The split seconds where you see that Victor laser come over the wall just a little millisecond too late. If he pops him before he gets over that wall, no Baron steal. But
yeah. It's a feel-good Baron steal. Unfortunately, they did not walk away with that win, even with the Baron steal, but it definitely kept them in the game and kept it close for some time before Liquid was able to pick it up. Well, keep those tweets coming throughout the weekend, pointing out your favorite moments with the hashtag LCS Big Plays. But now, without further ado, it's time to send it over to our casters to fire up today's games.